What's going on, Giants fans? We're about to get into a New York Giants rumors mailbag. I asked you guys to submit your questions on our most recent community post, and it's a two-step process if you want to get on these mailbags. Step one, you got to be a subscriber, so go down and hit that big red button right now. I want to thank all of you who have done so. We just crossed 5,000 subscribers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate that. And go in the comment section right now, ask your question, and use hashtag Giants. This first one coming in from my guy, Scooterboy69. He says, should the Giants re-sign Lorenzo Carter or Will Hernandez? I think it's important that you use the word or, because as we all know, the Giants' salary cap situation, it's going to be messy, and they're going to have to make some important decisions. I would lean towards Lorenzo Carter. What he did in the last 4 games of this current season really stood out to me. 16 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 6 QB hits, and 2 forced fumbles. And some people may say, but Marshall, he waited till it was garbage time and it didn't matter. He did it all too late. No, this guy was coming off a serious Achilles injury. It took some time for him to get back into game shape, back into being an explosive athlete like he was out of Georgia. And when he hit his stride, yes, it was at the end of the season, but he finally did so, and that's when he racked up 5 tackles for loss and 5 sacks and 2 forced fumbles in the last 4 games. Will Hernandez, on the other hand, he's been bad. He's been really bad, and I understand he's been an offensive lineman for this team, a starter since he became a New York Giant. But when you allow 7 sacks in an NFL season and every single one of your PFF grades are lower than 60, I don't envision Will Hernandez being back with the New York Giants unless it's on a 1-year prove-it type of deal with a low salary, and he's going to have to compete for a roster spot. Maybe he'd be a good backup, but at that point, I'm not even really sure about that. I would lean towards Lorenzo Carter. He showed me enough in those last 4 games, and I wouldn't cash this guy out. I wouldn't give him 4 years, $30 million, maybe 2 years, $12 million, 3 years, $15 million. I think that's fair for Lorenzo Carter. He's shown the ability to be a productive pass rusher, but weigh in for me. This will be the pinned comment. So if you get hit with the YouTube ad break, scroll on down and let me know who you'd rather resign. Type LC for Lorenzo Carter or WH for Will Hernandez. This next one coming in from Jay Push and Peace. Shout out Gunna. I love that album. I know we don't have a GM yet, but should the Giants be interested in Bill O'Brien? Butt Chin O'Brien, all right? He was interviewed by the Jags, did a good job as the Texans head coach. Terrible GM. Absolutely one of the worst trades in NFL history was trading DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson, a washed-up running back, and turned around Penn State after the whole Sandusky thing. Thoughts? Yeah, I agree. As a head coach, he did well with the Houston Texans. We'll quickly go through these records. And I mean, guys, I think you got to remember, through this time frame on screen, he shuffled through quarterbacks of Ryan Fitzpatrick, Ryan Mallett, Case Keenum, TJ Yates, Brian Hoyer, Brock Osweiler, and Tom Savage, and he made the playoffs twice and won a playoff game and had 3 years of over a 500 record. Then rolled in Deshaun Watson in 2018. They made the playoffs. Then in 2019, they made the playoffs again, and they won a playoff games. With two years under Watson, 11-5, 10-6. And then in 2020, it fell apart. That was the year that he started to get player personnel control, started 0-4, and they axed him and got him out of there, which I thought was fair. Bill O'Brien, as a head coach, did a good job with the Houston Texans. I wouldn't be interested in him being a head coach, maybe an offensive coordinator for the Giants. I like what he did with Bama this year, resurrecting his offensive coordinating and head coaching skills. He went to the Saban School of Recoaching and Retraining Coaches. I like him as an OC. Not yet as a head coach, although with the Texans, he did have a good run as a head coach. I would never, ever, ever, ever let him be a player personnel guy, but get your votes in. Should the Giants hire Bill O'Brien? Type Y for yes or type N for no. When the Giants hire someone, I promise it's not going to be Bill O'Brien. Maybe it'll be Brian Dable. Maybe it'll be Brian Flores. Who knows? But we'll be breaking it down on this channel. So make sure you're subscribed and you've hit that big red button. If you haven't, go to youtube.com/NYGiantsTV. Send this to all of your Giants fans. We're now on the road to 6,000 subscribers. I remember when we got to 1,000 subscribers. Man, we're really growing. It's a credit to all of you. So thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. As a Giants fan, I'm living my dream, and I can't do it without your support. So if you love the Giants and you think I'm an all right host, go down and hit that big red button. This next one coming in from Brian Dutton. I always see him in the comment section. He asks, who do the Giants release trade to create cap space and possibly more draft capital. I'm going to focus more so on the release side of this. We'll do trade candidates later on in the offseason, but I think it's important right now to focus on who can the Giants cut or restructure or something like that to create cap space, because right now the situation is a mess. These are the top 3 guys that I think could be cut by the New York Giants. The number on the right, that's how much money the Giants would save if they're cut. And everyone's going to be like, Marshall, is this cap? Does this take into effect the dead cap? I'll break it down to you. James Bradberry, his cap hit for the 2022 season is $21.8 million. And if you cut him, you save $12.1 million, which means he has a dead cap hit of 9.7. Meaning, if he's on the roster, you got to pay him 21. If you cut him, you still got to pay him $9 million, but you save $12 million. So same thing for Blake Martinez. He has a cap hit of $14 million, a dead cap hit if cut of 5.5, and a cap saving of 8.5. For Sterling Shepard, a cap hit of $12.4 million, and he has a dead cap hit, of 7.9 and a savings of 4.5. I want to read you what I read on this SNY article on the Giants' 2022 cap space. The Giants could save about $21 million by cutting cornerback James Bradberry and linebacker Blake Martinez. Cutting Nick Gates would save $2.5 million. Cutting Riley Dixon, the punter, would save $3.25 million. And cutting Devontae Booker would save $2 million. Let's say they did all of the above and cut Shepard, Rudolph, Bradberry, Martinez, Gates, Dixon, and Booker. That would bring them to about $46 million in salary cap space. So there's ways the Giants could create salary cap space. You'd have to send out some good players, and that's the nature of the business. Sometimes you got to send out good players to recoup and rebuild your salary cap. And I guarantee you, one of these guys on the screen to my left, I'm still learning this, to my right, left, you let me know in the comments, I don't know. One of these guys will be cut by the new GM. I can guarantee you that. But as a viewer, I want to know what you got to say. Pick one to cut. Type BM for Blake Martinez, type JB for James Bradberry, or type SS for Sterling Shepard. Last question on this mailbag from my guy Alzo. Shout out to you. Always in the comments. You hit me up on Instagram. Hope you're having a great weekend. His question: are the Giants open to having a head coach who will also serve as an OC-DC, or are they more inclined to have him as a CEO type of head coach regardless of their OC-DC acumen? Hashtag Giants. Go Giants. I think this is a good question. I don't think they're going to go back to the well of getting a CEO or a game manager like Joe Judge. That failed. I think the new head coach will be a coordinator. And I have 3 candidates who I have heard are on the list of all of the GM candidates that will be interviewed, who have already gotten second interviews, that being Ryan Poles, Adam Peters, and Joe Shane. For Dan Quinn, Brian Dable, and Brian Flores are all on their list of current head coach candidates. If you hire Dan Quinn, he's going to be the DC. If you hire Brian Dable, he's going to be the OC, the play caller. And if you hire Brian Flores, he will be the DC. He'll call the plays. That's what they do. That's their calling. That's what makes them head coach candidates. Great question, Alzo. I hope I gave you enough information on that from things I'm hearing. And guys, if you want to chop it up with me like Alzo does all the time, hit me up on Twitter at @MarshallGreen_. I'm tweeting about the Giants all day, every day. And all Giants news isn't a video. So whenever I get something, I always tweet it out. So hit me up, give me a follow at @MarshallGreen_.